Okay, what is happening on social media right now? Is influencer marketing getting replaced by AI? Is TikTok still dying? Instagram has a bunch of new features. What's trending? What's working? We don't know because social media is so overwhelming and so isolating. But lucky for us, we have all gathered here today in the busy, blooming office for another day at work. We are kicking off today our new monthly installment called State of Social Media, where we go through content inspo corner. What's working, what's trending on all the platforms, all of the social media platform updates, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and also the state of influencer marketing and content creation, the state of the market, the industry that we're all in. I have so many articles, so many updates, so many creators and pieces of content to show you today to really come together on the busy, blooming office and go through everything that needs to come across your desk because we're all here in the industry of content creation and social media, whether you're a freelancer, an entrepreneur, a podcaster, an influencer, content creator. We all come together every single Wednesday here in the busy, blooming office, and this is our new monthly installment. We're going to start every single month with the state of social media moving forward, and I am so excited. So everything is timestamped below, and let's just clock in and let's go to work together today. Okay, so when we're talking about creating on YouTube and growing a business on YouTube, one of my biggest pieces of advice is to create a brand for your YouTube channel. Like really have some signature elements that help you stand out and really make your content feel polished and signature to you. And one of my favorite ways that I do this every single week, and I have for years at this point, is storyblocks. You have heard me talk about storyblocks before because I'm so obsessed with them. I use them every single week. I think they're just one of the best ways to build your signature brand on social media. They have everything you need. They have green screens, overlays, B-roll, music, sound effects, images, templates, like everything you need to build your brand on social media and on YouTube. My favorite feature on storyblocks has been their green screens. I use them in the after hours and just through the videos with the confetti mainly, but I think their AI toolkit might be becoming my number one favorite feature, even over their green screens that I use every single week. If you haven't heard about this, it's gonna blow your mind. Storyblocks has an AI voiceover tool. With their AI toolkit, you can quickly go from script to voiceover using your own voice that you can clone or another voice to pick from. You also can customize your stock footage, which again is the most mind-blowing thing I've ever seen. You can go onto Storyblocks, pick one of their amazing pieces of stock footage, and then you can customize it with their AI toolkit. You can remove unwanted objects. You can relight a scene. If it's sunset, you want it to be sunrise. Like you can customize the B-roll for your vlogs, for YouTube videos, for all your content to be exactly what you want it to be. And the thing with Storyblocks is that it is a subscription model. So you know how usually you have to pay for each stock footage, each sound you're using, all of that? No. So to get started with unlimited media downloads at one set price and check out Storyblocks, go to storyblocks.com/Tess Barclay or click the link in the description. Thank you so much to Storyblocks for sponsoring today's episode, and let's get back to talking about YouTube. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to have a little content inspo corner, a vibe check of social media. And we've talked about in the past on the show, we've been talking for months really, that polished casual content, in my opinion, is in for 2026. It's content that is obviously very human because being human, being personal, is our competitive edge as people who create on social media, regardless of what type of content you do. Because of the rise of AI, we have a whole episode on AI influencers. Our competitive edge as human beings is to be personal, emotional, human connection. Like that's what is really working right now on social media. That being said, my feed currently, I don't know about you, but my feed looks like this. And if you're listening, this content is definitely not giving like messy human connection. It's very polished, but just because my feed personally looks like this, and sorry for listening, it's a bunch of like aesthetic content, a lot of clicking sounds, a lot of highly edited content. Just because my feed looks like this and yours might look like this too, it doesn't mean that this is the blueprint of what's working right now with content, in my opinion. So here's my theory, okay? There are two buckets of types of creators that are making waves so far in 2026, are either expert personal brands or chaotic chaotic personal brands. Personal brands and creators that aren't necessarily influencers, but they're more content creators that are either an expert personal brand or a chaotic personal brand, I think are the two buckets that are really making waves and really taking over so far in 2026. So I'm going to give a bunch of examples of what I'm talking about to provide some inspo for anybody who needs some content inspo this month. Okay, so expert personal brand. So it's actually on Substack, which I'm trying to get more into Substack. And I found this article about the rise of the expert influencer and how feeds used to be full of things like get ready with me and outfit of the days and vlogs. And now it's full of get ready with me and let me tell you about how to negotiate your salary, or let's do a vlog with the voiceovers, a bunch of tips of your 9-to-5 job. So a couple examples. Firstly, Alexis Barber. So her content is educational, all about creator economy, entrepreneurship, women in business, all of this, but there's a personal brand to it. So what I mean by this, how to add in her personal brand, is she talks about how she used to work at Google, and she talks about how she has an MBA. She brings in a ton of opinion. It's not just like, here are 3 things happening in the creator economy. She's like, here's something that happened to me when I was on a panel, and here's the biggest mistake people are making, or here's the biggest mistake I make, or when I do coaching, this is what I see. It's all about her opinion. So that's an expert personal brand. Another creator of this that's less educational, but definitely in this expert personal brand, is Ellie Freeman. You might have seen her on TikTok. She does the things I find chic type of content. Again, it's very similar to this polished casual. It's filmed on her camera. She films it probably on TikTok, front camera. Lighting's good though. It looks good. But her expert personal brand is all about things she finds chic, which is a really good signature series. Products, hauls. She talks a little bit about life in her 20s, but it's all very cohesive. Again, talking about products and clothing and beauty products, but it has that personal brand element to it. Polished casual. And the key with this type of content is that what makes it cohesive is, yes, the topics, but also their personal opinion is woven through everything. Another really good example of this is Natalie Barbu. I love Natalie, the founder of Rella. Her content looks good, polished casual. It's on a focused topic of entrepreneurship, but it's her opinion that is laced through. You know Natalie, you know Alexis, Ellie by name. It's still an expert brand, but it's personal. So I think you get what I mean. But that's the first bucket of creator I'm seeing work really well right now. And then the second type is the chaotic personal brand. This is that rather than it's cohesive because it's a cohesive mission and topics and all of that, this is cohesive because the energy and the personality and the vibe is what is cohesive through all of the content. So a good example of this is Ken Urich, which I know we all know and love. Dylan is another example of this. He's the creator on TikTok who I'm sure you've seen. He says, shut the F up and F me. You know that guy? I'm obsessed with him. His content similar to Ken Urich, similar to Mickey Cashflow, who I also love. Their content is not expert. It's not giving tips. It's not giving advice. It's not even about topics or content pillars or anything cohesive whatsoever with the actual topics. What makes it cohesive is their chaotic energy. Not to say it has to be chaotic, but their energy is what is cohesive. With an expert personal brand, their content is savable. With a chaotic personal brand, their content is shareable. It's entertaining, not educational. I also saw another article in Substack about the difference between being an influencer and being influential. And I said this, I think in December, when we did that 2026, the Golden Era of Social Media series, which I still love and stand by everything in that. But I think influencers really are on the downfall this year in 2026. I think for a variety of reasons. Obviously, AI content that looks like AI aesthetic, perfect content, people are so over because if it's too perfect looking, people think it's AI. But then also just influencer fatigue. The reason people go to social media is for connection, entertainment, education. They don't go anymore, in my opinion, on Instagram or TikTok to see this perfect aesthetic day in the life or haul or all of this influencer lifestyle. What people really want is creators and personal brands, people who are real people, whether they're educating you or entertaining you. Again, not that it's low quality content, but it's this polished, casual, either expert, educational, or chaotic brand. I think that is what's winning. I feel like there's a divide happening between creators right now, and I feel like people who aren't leaning into one or the other are just not hitting as hard as other creators. So that's my theory right now, the two buckets. and some content inspo of what's really working. I feel like it's been pretty consistent this year so far on short form content and long form content needing to have a cohesive through line of the topic. I also feel like 2026, it's just the year that you have to have a niche audience. Unless you were leaning into like the Ken Urich, Dylan, Mickey Castro, like chaotic personal brand energy. If that's not what you want to do, I really do think you have to have a niche audience. We pulled a report at the end of last year that majority of brands don't even care what your demographic is. They don't care it's a female audience based in the US. They want to know what your audience does and what they're interested in. That's who they want. So that's the vibe I'm personally feeling on social media right now of what's working is this polished, casual, one of two buckets of content. Personal branding can either take two different ways, and it's been pretty consistent, I feel like, throughout the year. Like, we've been saying this for a couple of months now. So anyways, that's our content inspo corner for March. Now let's get into our next segment, which is platform updates. There's a lot of updates happening on Instagram and YouTube, so let's get into it. Okay, so let's start with Instagram, our favorite platform over here. I feel like the busy booming office unintentionally is notoriously becoming a place where TikTok is our most hated platform. We did a live session in HQ a couple of months ago, and we did a voting on our favorite platform, and everyone had TikTok at the bottom. But if you're a TikTok creator over here, if you're thriving on TikTok, you are welcome at work. Okay, so Instagram updates. First update is that you can now add a link sticker through edits onto your reel. So let's say, for example, I'm doing a reel and I'm like, at the end of my reel, I'm like, make sure to follow my Busy Blooming account for more influencer news. I can have this really nice looking sticker on my reel that you can click and go right to my account, which I think is really cool. So you can add a link button onto your reel, but only if you use edits. I still do not love edits. I'm so curious if anybody in here in our office like still uses edits to do your Instagram content. I still use CapCut for all of my short form content, or Final Cut Pro if it's like a bigger edit, but I don't know. I cannot get into edits. I don't know why. Another update is that the Instagram carousel photos dimensions changed again. I don't know why they did this, but they just like love to change. They like to keep us on our toes with the Instagram carousel. So now they're a little bit taller. I'll have the exact dimensions below, but if we're going into Canva and like making a carousel, the original 3x4, just double check that it's the right dimensions because it's now 1440 height instead of 1350. So just a side note there to double check. Not that it really matters, because if you post a carousel that, you know, isn't big enough, it will expand it in your feed, but it's more like for when you're scrolling, there'll be a little white background around it. So just like make sure it's 1440 height. Okay, in the last Instagram update, we have to do our Adam Mosseri corner. If you're new, every single time we do one of these episodes in the past, we always have an Instagram CEO Adam Mosseri corner because he does his Q&As every single week where you can ask him questions, and I can just like imagine the questions that he gets. But regardless, he finally debunked the myth that if you say link in bio in your Instagram content, it will suppress your views. It won't. I also think when you say YouTube on TikTok or Instagram, or when you're making a TikTok and you say the word Instagram, it won't suppress it. But Adam Mosseri officially said you can say link in bio and we won't shove your video down. Okay, moving on to YouTube. So there are two cool new YouTube features. And when it comes to platform updates and new features, I personally pick the ones that I think are actually like interesting and helpful and like need to come across your desk. So there's a lot more, but these are my highlights, in my opinion, that you would actually need to know. Firstly, you can now add YouTube quizzes. I've added a quiz to this video if you're watching on YouTube. I feel like the only reason they added this is because Spotify also has quizzes and polls, but I feel like this is one of those features that's like no one asked for and no one wanted, but YouTube thought it'd be fun. So here we are with our quizzes down below. I could see potentially YouTube adding this in because there is a giant education piece of YouTube where people maybe want to like quiz. If they're talking about like a more educational topic, then maybe they want a quiz in there. But I feel like this is a really random feature that no one needs or asks for, but it's here. So YouTube quizzes, very exciting. The next YouTube feature that is new that I think is actually very, very cool is now you can respond to your YouTube comments with voice notes. Like I could go in the comments here and reply with a voice note, which I think is really cool. This like personal connection element that every platform I really think is trying to nail down as much as possible, YouTube is doing really, really right. And so that adding in a voice note to be able to respond to your YouTube comments, I think is genius and just so on brand with what's working right now in social. And I love a voice note more than anything. Podcasting feature update of the month is that Apple Podcasts are now launching a video feature where you can upload a video now to to your Apple Podcast. I feel like this is coming so late. I feel like honestly, Apple Podcasts is kind of like falling behind Spotify and YouTube is just overtaking everything. But they're out here adding video, so that's coming in the spring. And then another podcasting update is that obviously you've probably seen this, but podcasting now is finally making waves on Netflix. They acquired Jake Shane's podcast, which I don't know about this. Can I be so honest? I used to watch the Therapist podcast every single week with Jake Shane. I have not clicked on a single episode on Netflix. I'm so curious. I tried to find if there was an announcement of how much money he made from this deal. Remember Alex Cooper, her 60 million Spotify deal came out public. I'm so curious how much this was, but I have not clicked on the Hailey Bieber episode, the Nick Jonas episode that just came out, and I used to watch every week, and I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I just feel like the user behavior of podcasting is that it's definitely something you have on in the background, on a walk, on your TV while you're cleaning or something else, and I feel like Netflix, when you sit down and watch it, it's such an intentional thing. So I don't know, I'm very curious to see how this goes. And I'm so curious about the ratings on it, if it's getting the same amount of views or maybe more. Maybe I'm totally off the mark here than it did on YouTube. But let me know, like, have you watched a podcast on YouTube? Because I haven't yet. Okay, and then in terms of TikTok, there are no platform updates for the month of March. Like, TikTok, I actually can't handle. Like, TikTok is in a timeout for me right now. I say this every single episode, but I feel like TikTok is dying in 2026. Maybe I'm projecting, but I just feel like YouTube and Instagram, it's still the future. For the March state of social media, I think TikTok is still not the place to put all your eggs in one basket. I think it's a great reposting platform. If you have the time to create for it, like, I think it's fine. But if you are busy, which all of us here are busy blooming, YouTube, Instagram, Substack, podcasting, Pinterest, like, those are the platforms I feel like are the best, in my opinion. Okay, so now it's time to get into our next segment, which is the landscape of the creator economy. So when it comes to this industry that we're all in, of influencer marketing, creator economy, social media marketing, there are so many things happening that I feel like nobody is talking about. So I'm going to whip through these articles because they're not boring, but they're not like the craziest news, but I feel like they're good things to come across your desk. I will link all of these below as well if you want to take a look and like read some of them more. So this first one I think is the most interesting. So Creator IQ wrote this article about 2 weeks ago, and they said that they did a recent study to grab the average influencer income from last year. So I thought I would share it because I found this very interesting. So the average influencer income in 2025 is that 11% of creators and influencers made over $100,000. 25% of creators and influencers last year made between $50,000 to $100,000. 24% earned between $25,000 to $50,000. 23% between $10,000 and $25,000, and only 18% earned less than $10,000. So 75%, almost roughly 75% of content creators and influencers last year made under $100,000. I feel like when it comes to content creation and influencer marketing, you can feel like you're always like so behind of everybody else, but 75% of people in this study made under $100,000. Only 11% made over that. So if you made less than $100,000 last year as a creator or an influencer, just know like 75% of people made less than $100,000. But also influencer marketing as an industry is just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which we talk about all the time over here. And I actually found this really interesting Reddit thread of somebody posted in the influencer marketing Reddit and said, I've spent millions of dollars on influencers, and like you could ask them anything. And they went through in detail like why they would hire an influencer or why they wouldn't. And I thought this was so interesting. They said, when you see a ton of quick 10 to 15 second low effort videos, that usually tells me that the creator's audience isn't engaged in the creator themselves, leading to a low conversion rate. And they called this like posting, and they said that they really don't like working with creators that just post a bunch of like 10-second trends and random videos. They want actual depth in their content. And they were also just saying that the influencer marketing industry is growing so fast. Like brands are wasting millions of dollars on their marketing spend on random creators because they don't have a solid strategy or a lot of knowledge about it. And it's just still such a new industry, which is so true. Like nothing is regulated or standardized in terms of rates or even contracts. Every brand deal is totally different. And I just think it's such an exciting time to be in the world of content and social because it's still so new. And I feel like it's so easy to not feel that way. It's easy to feel like, oh, well, I'm behind and everyone's already blown up who's going to blow up and it's too late. That is just not the case. Like, we are just getting started in 2026. This is the best year to create on social. There's never been more ways you can grow on social media. There's never been more platforms where you can grow. There's never, ever in the history been more brands paying creators and wanting to work with creators. We saw last year in our end of year that basically every brand is increasing their influencer marketing budget. So if you create content on social media, this is the beginning. Like, you're in such a good golden era, you could even say, of social. Speaking of how big this is all getting, also something that you might find interesting is that there is a fintech company that just launched that is only for content creators and influencers. It's basically like Wealth Simple, but it's only for creators and influencers. This basically just shows the takeaway of how much money creators and influencers can make, that there's fintech companies launching just for them, where you can get a visa, wealth management, investments, all of that for specialized companies for creators and influencers. And also the article came out that I thought was so interesting that I totally agree with, that the new late night is Jake Shane, Brittany Broski. These podcasts that have celebrities on is the new late night. And I 100% agree. I saw some people disagreeing with this and saying that this is more of a junket rather than an actual late night talk show. I don't agree. I 100% think that podcasts like therapists, like Brittany Broski's Royal Court, who just had Harry Styles on, which was such a good episode, Amelia's Chicken Shop Date, like, these are the new late night shows. Even you can see a shift in late night, that there's less shows popping up. Remember when like Lily Singh had a late night show? I feel like that would just never happen nowadays. You're so much better off to start your own podcast where you have celebrities on, because even late night, all they're really doing with their content is trying to optimize it for clips for social media. I've said this before, but the average late night, like Jimmy Fallon, gets a couple million views on an episode max. And if you look at Brittany Broski's episode she just did with Harry Styles, it has like almost 4 million views in a couple of days. Okay, so I think that is a good state of social media, like where we are right now in the landscape of the industry, what's working, platform updates, all of that. These episodes are so fun to do. These episodes are very, very similar to the Monday meetings that we're doing now in Busy Blooming HQ, which I think is a good segue into talking about the last part of this episode, which is the future of this podcast and this channel. I'm going to try this again for a second time. So let's clock out of work and get into that. Okay, so I posted a podcast episode last week that I took down very shortly after posting it. I think it had about 4,000 views. So if you were one of the 4,000 people that watched that episode, I posted an episode that I was so excited about to talk about the future of this podcast, this channel, Busy Blooming, because I've recently taken a bit of a podcast step back the last month or so to do some re-strategizing, some new exciting things that are coming to the podcast HQ, all of that. And the feedback on that episode was something I was so surprised by, just the reaction that people were not as excited, I guess, as I thought. And so because it was like 90% of the comments that were this tone on the video, I thought, okay, this is a me problem. Like, I clearly have over explained and really not set up like what is happening to Busy Blooming in the best way. I really wanted to take you into my mind of like how I've been feeling with YouTube, how I've been feeling with podcasting and all of that. And I think I just didn't explain it in the right way. So I'm going to try it for the second time. So this is what is happening with the future of this channel, this podcast, Busy Blooming as a whole. Okay, so this podcast show that we have had for a long time over here on YouTube, Spotify, all the podcasting platforms, this show is going to be on Wednesdays. In the past, it has been on Monday, and now this podcast is going to be on Wednesdays, which I'm really, really excited about. Today's episode of doing a state of social media is something I want to do at the beginning of every single month, and something else I want to do on this podcast is to end every single month. I want to do a content strategy episode where every single month I do a content strategy of a 30-day plan, of a content calendar, a vibe for the month, kind of like a 30-day strategy content challenge every single month that we could all do together over here at Busy Blooming, which I'm really excited about that. Something else I really want to do is an episode called Content Therapy, where I answer voice notes from HQ and questions and really just have a whole like content therapy session together. So I have a lot of ideas for the show. Obviously, we're going to do solo episodes. I'd love to bring guests in, but we're basically just moving the Busy Blooming podcast from Mondays to Wednesdays. And then I have a lot of really exciting ideas for some new installments that we can start doing on the show that I think will really help us feel inspired, organized, and just like that we have our life together with content and social. So that's the first change, Mondays to Wednesdays, and the Wednesdays episodes are going to be the same but better. Okay, and then I have started a new podcast. So there's a new podcast show that will be exclusively in HQ. This is the Monday Meeting Show. So this is very similar to the episode we just did. It's on video, it's on audio, it's every single Monday morning exclusively in HQ, where I will go through a content inspo corner of the week, ideas, what's trending, platform updates, and action item for the week. It's really designed to be a weekly meeting that sets you up for the week. It's not evergreen. It's like very, very timely to kick off our week together. We just did our first one this week on Monday. It was so fun. I went through my content reset routine for March, platform news. I did a creator highlight, some ideas for the week. So that was really fun. So that's a totally new show. And then on Friday is the content ideas and trends report in Busy Blooming HQ. These are these gorgeously, I would say, formatted reports that I do every single week. I do all the scrolling. I come up with a bunch of content ideas and trends to populate your content calendar for the next week. So I really build out your content calendar every single week. We also have a monthly live meeting to end our month together with a monthly reset and recap meeting. And when you join HQ, you get access to everything in there, like all the past workshops, content ideas, content, everything. If you're in HQ and listen to this, you get 2 episodes of the show per week, Mondays and Wednesdays. But this podcast is not going anywhere. I love this podcast. I feel like that's where I misstepped last week and made it seem like this podcast is going away or something. There's just 2 podcasts, one in HQ and one here, and I'm just so excited. They're different shows, and everything I do here, Busy Blooming, I really have designed to help you feel inspired, organized, like you're not creating in isolation, and that you really do have a digital office every single week to clock into, whether it's just here on YouTube or in HQ and YouTube or following us on Instagram. You have this digital office to help you feel inspired, organized, that you're not creating in isolation. So that's Busy Blooming. That's the update of the rundown of what's going on. I'm so excited about this. I have been feeling like for so long, I've been dying to have more structure for you and for me, of like every single week there's the same structure across everything that we do here in Busy Blooming. So I'm really excited. And that is it for our state of social media. What's happening in March 2026 for social media. Thank you so much for clocking in with me at work today. It's our first Wednesday in the office, so I'll see you next Wednesday. If there are any specific types of episodes you really want to see here every Wednesday, I would love your feedback. Also throw this in the community tab as well and just get an understanding of if you prefer solo episodes, guest episodes, if there are specific topics you want to hear. I am in kind of like shifting mode of trying out some new stuff. So let me know, because I obviously want to do what you want to see. And I hope you're doing well. Thanks for clocking in, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Okay, bye.